Here we are, like back then, same old story. Again, a remake that's overblown. You said I was insane, I should stay in my lane. But had you listened, well, you'd have known. Now you bitch and you whine, and that normally be fine. But I'm not in the mood for your spite. So come with me, I'll convey how our Disney lost its way on another Arabian night. Arabian night, qualities night and day. The film that you got, it's not what you thought, 'cause it's not quite the same. Arabian night, you were all played like fools. You fell right in line, like time after time. Now which one's a tool?
Greetings. I am the Dogmatic director. I gripe about and don't even get paid for it. But on this show, The Rough Cut, I discuss movies that just came out in theaters, movies that just came out on DVD and digital, and we will even discuss the fascinating and bizarre oddities that the film industry has been kind enough to experience over the years. For example, this. I doubt you, or I, or anyone on this planet has ever seen this intact before. It is debated by scholars to this day if it ever was intact. You see, this is the integrity of Harvey Weinstein. Listen.
I'm not doing anything with you. You're embarrassing me.
I'm sorry, I cannot. No, yesterday was a kind of aggressive for me. I need to know a person to be touched.
I won't do a thing.
Still pathetic.
I don't appreciate you using me for this gag.
Oh, come now, York. Where's your sense of humor?
It died with me, you belligerent buffoon.
Are you missing a funny bone? Huh? York? You missing a little funny bone right there?
You may try as many times as you like, director. None of your comedy will ever be humorous. If I had arms, I'd strangle you.
So, if you couldn't tell from that colorful little intro there, I got to see the Aladdin remake on May 24th, its opening night. And, it was not good. I mean, what else did you expect from the same director who brought us the Madonna-led film Swept Away? Now, I don't think it's a big surprise to anybody that I haven't been a big fan of about 80% of the live-action remakes that Disney has been doing lately. Instead of making new, innovative films, they've either been sequeling movies that have done really well, or just redoing the old ones in live action. And in some cases, there's some interesting takes, and in other cases, there's absolutely nothing interesting about them. This may come as a surprise to some of you, but I actually kind of like the concept Maleficent was going for, giving her a lot more depth, as ham-fisted as it was. But then we started getting cases like Beauty and the Beast, where it was the exact same movie except worse. Gaston has PTSD, LeFou is gay for like 2 seconds of a scene, a forced feminist angle that doesn't even accurately reflect the time period it's in, and then screw up some character designs and bam, you got yourself a less than average remake. And boy, is that ever the case with Aladdin. It's like they went, well, it worked for Beauty and the Beast, let's just do it here. Oh wait, that's probably because it did. Now, if it gets to a point where I already know I'm going to hate it if I end up seeing it, generally I will decide not to end up watching that. I mean, if I already know how I'm going to feel, what's the point in the first place? But not only is Aladdin one of my favorite Disney films of all time, I was really interested in seeing how this movie would end up turning out. Despite everyone being upset about it, I was actually kind of curious to see where Will Smith would end up taking the role of the genie. It was everything else I started seeing that gave me a really bad feeling about it. And I think it's safe to say now that my suspicions were correct. So let's start with the most important things first and foremost. The runtime of the Aladdin remake is about half an hour longer than that of the original, but somewhere along the way the pacing got completely screwed up. The remake's first 10 minutes somehow managed to go through the first 15 minutes of the last movie at a completely rushed pace, and it only slows down at a point where they start talking about politics, because that's what the Aladdin experience was missing. Politics. Yay. Hooray. Really though, these political scenes only serve to try to make things a bit more dramatic considering it's live action. Also, it's necessary to shoehorn in the new song from Jasmine. Speechless was a song that I thought was okay. It's not bad, but I definitely wouldn't put it on a playlist during a car trip. But more importantly, it kind of clashes in tone with the rest of the soundtrack. Speechless feels like a more modern song, while the rest of the soundtrack feels like it was written for that movie. I know Beauty and the Beast had that song Evermore in it, which was newer, and it did blend well with its original soundtrack, but the thing is, it was already in the Beast's character to sing a song like that. It made sense for him. This one is completely changing Jasmine's character from the ground up. Which brings me to the next point that a lot of people are probably going to get salty with me on, I don't care. The new emphasis on the strong, independent woman character type for Jasmine in this remake. Now, hear me out for a second. I'm all for the female empowerment thing. I love it. But what if I were to tell you, I don't know, not only did the original Jasmine already have this character type, but arguably she had a better version of it? Just watching the original movie will tell you that she already is a strong, independent woman. For example, the pole jumping scene that you so kindly decided to change. In the original movie, Aladdin jumps over a gap between two buildings with a large board and then lowers the board down for Jasmine to walk across. But while he bends down to do something else, Jasmine grabs a smaller pole and performs the same action with less material, simply replying,
I'm a fast learner.
This new one really wants to emphasize that she's not going to let a man tell her to be quiet or anything, but the original one didn't need to do that. She took initiative. She stood her ground. We didn't have to be told directly she wasn't going to go speechless because she already showed us several times from her own character that she wasn't going to go speechless. Also, I guess her just wanting to marry for love instead of an arranged marriage wasn't enough for them, so they decided that instead of just wanting to marry for love, she also wants to be Sultan, which you can argue whether or not that's legitimate, but do you really think that was the main focal point of the original movie? And can you not admit that it's at least a tad bit forced here? Oh, but don't worry, you won't have enough time to think about the politics because the people acting in those scenes involving the politics are even funnier. Iago is decidedly not Gilbert Godfrey this time, and he just talks like a normal parrot. So when he first spoke on screen, my fiance and I kind of laughed at it. And then Jafar spoke, and we laughed even harder at it. You remember how Jafar was this massively threatening villain in the original movie? So much so that he is an icon of villainy outside of the movie itself? Well, not here, because he's just some dude in a weird-looking robe with a snake staff. He's trying so hard to sound threatening, but he just sounds so weak and frail, like his bones might break if he takes a wrong step. And that kind of goes for the rest of the casting too. Aladdin, Jasmine, and a couple others are cast okay. They're passable for the role, but not great, while others are just horribly miscast. And can I just stop to ask, what is going on with the Sultan here? Up close, he looks like an 80-year-old dude like he's supposed to, but from far away, he looks like some 18-year-old wearing a crepe wool beard and a hat. It looks like they put his outfit with a budget that I use for this show, which is about roughly $3. Choreography's okay, Aladdin and Jasmine are pretty good at that. Their singing voices, though, are massively auto-tuned and just kind of passable, but not great, which, yes, finally brings me to the overall question that I'm sure many of you are asking. Will Smith as the genie? And believe it or not, he is the one thing I have the least criticism about. Mostly. On the one hand, I do kind of like his portrayal as the genie. You can clearly tell he's having fun with the role, even if he is just playing Will Smith. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Will Smith is very good at playing Will Smith. Will Smith is a wonderful character, but only when you put him in the right places. And I don't necessarily think this might have been one of them, but you can very clearly tell that he is trying, at least in terms of acting. Now, Will Smith is a very good freestyle rap artist. I'm not denying that in any regard. But if there is one thing that he is not, it's that he's not a singer, by any regard. Now, I know Robin Williams wasn't necessarily a trained singer either, but he emphasized character in his performance in place of singing, which is what made his numbers so memorable in the first place. Will Smith seems like he's focused on hitting the notes first and foremost before emphasizing his character, but I don't think that's his fault on his own. I think that mainly falls on the music. In fact, the number that I did like Will Smith the most in was at the very end, where they did a rendition of Friend Like Me with DJ Khaled. And although it's not the best number in the world, Will Smith has a lot more room to be creative with it. That's his thing. That's where he gets jiggy. Why didn't you let him get jiggy with it? He literally invented jiggy. And the music I really wasn't a fan of this time. The new number wasn't that great, and all of the songs from before just had this weird background drum kit that sounded like a rehearsal. This whole thing sounded like a rehearsal because of it, and it was kind of offsetting. And if you're gonna sit there and tell me that the music was good for this movie and that's the reason you like it, you're more than welcome to think that. But just remember, it's not this movie's music you like so much, it's this movie's. And then there's a bunch of needlessly contrived bullshit they added in this one, which wasn't necessary at all, which is a running theme for these remakes, but that is a topic for another day. Anyway, if there's anything I can take from this, it's that Disney shows no intent on slowing down on these live-action remakes and will most likely continue to take the Beauty and the Beast route with them, which is why I'm making it a priority to stop them at any length possible, which means I will not be seeing or reviewing the Lion King remake. Like I said before, if I know how I'm gonna feel about it, why see it in the first place? And as for this movie, it just feels like a wasted opportunity that I really should take a longer crack at some other point. But as for now, all I can say is that all this movie really did successfully was make me want to watch the original one again. Because acting like going through the motions is good enough does not a good movie make. And I'm giving this movie a 2 out of 10. Thank you for watching, goodbye.